Welcome to the Lambton College International Graduate Services and Support Center, your dedicated resource for navigating life after graduation. We know the journey can be complex, from understanding immigration processes to making career decisions and expanding your professional network. That's why we're here, to simplify these challenges and support your transition into Canadian life. At the International Graduate Services and Support Center, our mission extends beyond your academic achievements. We are here to facilitate your successful integration into the Canadian workforce and society. From career counseling to workshops on Canadian workplace culture and immigration support, our services are tailored to meet the unique needs of international graduates. We're committed to empowering you with the tools and knowledge necessary for success. Embrace the opportunity to connect with fellow graduates and professionals through our networking events and stay informed with our comprehensive webinars covering a range of topics crucial for your postgraduate success. Remember, the path to achieving your aspirations is a journey we undertake together. Ready to take the next step? Visit our website and join our supportive community. Remember to follow us on Instagram and on LinkedIn for upcoming immigration webinars, networking events, and much more. Together, let's make your postgraduate journey a success.
All right, hello everybody, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Cristina Giguren, and I'm the coordinator of the International Graduate Services and Support Center. I want to welcome you all, and thanks again for joining us today. We're going to discuss a very important topic about your TEER and NOC. If you are insecure, I hope today you can find the answers. We're going to, I want to share as well our social media accounts so that you can follow and you won't miss any of our events. I want to remind you as well that we are recording this webinar and you will get in a couple of days. This center is dedicated to assisting you, our international graduates, as you seek employment and settle into Canadian life following graduation. International graduates from all four campuses have access to immigration, career advice, and networking events. Remember, there are countless reasons why you can take pride in being a Lambton graduate, as I'm also very proud of working here. We've been ranked as one of the best research colleges in Canada, and we're one of the few colleges in Canada that has a graduate center. And this is part of our commitment to support you in your post-graduation journey. Today, we have an amazing speaker with us. His name is Mache. Mache is an immigration consultant, and he also holds a Bachelor's of Arts in English and a Master's in Education. He has over 15 years of experience helping international visitors find immigration pathways to Canada. Mache will help us understanding better the TEER and NOC. So I want to tell you that there are over 40,000 NOCs, so it will be very complicated for us to go through each one of them. There's a lot of information. So we're going to try our best to explain you how can you find your TEER and NOC. And if you're still a struggle, you can also always book a consultation with Mache, and he will be able to help with all your requirements for immigration. So thank you, Mache, and thanks to our graduates. Now I will pass it over to you.
Thank you. Fantastic very much. Okay, so thank you very much for the warm introduction, Christina. This is not the first webinar we have done. We have done quite a few. And today we're going to talk about those pesky TEERs and NOCs. And basically we're going to talk about the National Occupational Codes. And we're going to talk about their impact on immigration pathways to Canada. We're going to talk also how to identify them. So again, my name is Maciej Błaszczyk. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant and founder of Future Soft Immigration. I've been doing a lot of these kinds of, I've been helping immigrants for about 15 years to help pathways to immigration. Today on our agenda, we're going to basically talk about a little bit about the TEER system, how it works. We're going to also talk about some newest changes from last week, newest changes to spousal work permit requirements, again, relating to NOCs. We're also going to talk about how to connect your TEER or your NOC with your career path, especially how it relates to pathways to immigration to Canada. We're also going to talk about the Ontario International Nominee Program. We're going to talk specifically about the Employment Job Offer International Student Stream, which many Lambton College students do qualify for, may qualify for. We're also going to talk about job search strategies based on NOC and TEERs. And then we're also going to do a Q&A. And hopefully somewhere in there, we're going to squeeze in a little bit of a portion of how to identify your NOC. Okay. In any case, here we go. So first of all, let's talk about the NOC code, the National Occupation Classification Code. So basically, this was first introduced in 1992, and this is a Canadian-based code. So the NOC is for Canadian jobs only, and basically it helps Canadian institutions, especially different branches of government, to classify different jobs, to specifically identify the jobs. It's not just used in immigration, it's also used in many professional settings as well. And basically, the National Occupation Code is meant to just categorize, provide a clear classification of what jobs we have. Now, these have been updated many times in between 2016, 2021. We had 5 occupational classification codes, which were O, A, B, C, and D. And starting with 2021, we've revised the O, A, B, C, D into tier systems, which are, again, 6 occupational codes, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So originally, the 5 tier codes, or were skill type 0, A, B, C, and D. And again, all jobs, not NOCs, not national occupation codes, but basically all of these jobs were divided into these 5 categories, specifically just dividing them into mostly the requirement of skills and the amount of education that you need. For skill type 0, so for 0 positions, right, these were management positions. Skill level A positions were professionals, including doctors, lawyers, right? These required a certain amount of university degree in order to do. Skill type B were technical jobs or skilled trades that required, like chefs, plumbers, right? Task C, skill level C, these were jobs that required either some job training or maybe apprenticeship, and usually just high school. And type D, these were called the unskilled, right? They didn't require any training, right? So basically, from 2022 to the present, these particular positions, type O became tier O, and then tier 1 became A, tier A, and tier B, level B became tier 2, and then skill level C was further subdivided into tier 3 and 4, and basically tier 5 basically being tier level D. So currently, this is the situation that we have in terms of our current NOC code classification codes, and basically all NOCs are divided into these tiers. So specifically for Canadian immigration, more likely or not, you will be able to find a immigration pathway if you qualify for tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 position. Tier 4 are very unlikely candidates for pathways to Canadian immigration unless these are in-demand jobs in certain provinces. So again, one of the big ideas here is that a lot of us need to find our actual codes, and we have a lot of problems finding these codes. Again, if you're having a deep problem with finding your code, because sometimes it's very, very difficult, sometimes it may take up to an hour to carefully search and cross-search in order to find these particular NOC codes, right? If you are having problems, or you see something, you sometimes are in between 2 particular NOC codes and you're not absolutely sure which one you should choose, right? You can basically book a consultation. I can help you do that. But basically, some basic hints for us is, first of all, one of the things you should do is use the National Occupation official website. So when you look at the official website, right, you can start your search there. If you're not able to find your NOC code in that particular search, you can start looking Google, right, and find different entries. And then the most important thing is to look at the duties as they align with the position. In fact, what we're going to do right now is we're going to do something different. We've never done this before, but I'm going to need some assistance from Christina here. We're actually going to go ahead and try to find the NOC code for a job from someone in the audience today. So maybe I can get Christina to help me out here. So guys, please use the chat here. Who here has had some problems finding a particular job positions? Who has a position that they have not had a easy time finding for a NOC code?
You can also let us know in the Q&A. So we won't miss your question if you write it down in
Sorry, Christina, I
the
can't
chat.
see you. There you are. There
All
you
right.
Are. All right, so let's
see
take
what
a
we
look.
find here. Let's see. Okay. Oh God, we have some more. What? There's everything's so specific. Let me see if I find something like at least 2 or 3 people asking for the same.
I remember our last session we had almost over 100 questions or 200 questions. For we'll do our best.
All right, we do have a lot about financial services, investigations, and compliance.
All right, here we go. We got sandwich artist at Subway. Oh my goodness. We got recreation supervisor, cybersecurity analyst. Okay, I'm gonna let you choose something here for us, just so that I don't seem like I'm gonna put all the fault on you, put all the pressure on Christina here.
All right. Let's see. How much I really don't know. Let's see. So financial services. Let's go for like, should I pick something from the left?
There is, yeah, so I'm seeing a lot here. There's open almost 42 now here. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's hard ones. I want to choose a hard one here. If it's since instructional designer, supervisor in security, hydrocarbon extraction technician. Oh my goodness. Hydrocarbon extraction technician. I have no idea what that job is. Let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be for Herschel Joshi. Congratulations, Herschel Joshi, for having the absolute most difficult job to understand. Hydrocarbon extraction technician. My goodness. Okay,
right. If we can understand that one, it will be easier the other one. So no worries.
No, my goodness.
Let's follow
go
what
ahead.
Matcha says.
Let's go find the hardest one. Okay, so number one. First of all, step number one, we might try to find the the actual job on the Find Your National Occupation Classification website. Basically, just Google Find Your NOC, and you will find this website here. It will give you a more clear description of the tiers, but here at the bottom here, we get to filter some items. And again, we're just going to paste this. Nothing as predicted. Now, of course, we're not seeing this, but because this particular position, of course, will have a different NOC code. So NOC codes are basically like umbrella terms. These are umbrella terms that under which we can see many of these specific jobs. So next one, we're going to go to Dr. Google. All right. And we're going to go hydrocarbon extraction technician. We're going to put NOC into Google. Let's see what we got. Okay. Chemical technologist and technician. Well, that was easy, but this is actually an old NOC code. Okay, no, that's not the right one. Be careful because here we can see the years 2011 to 2. This is for 2011. These are the old codes. Remember that they have updated. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look. Statistics Canada. I believe we're here. There we go. We got a better one. 22100 chemical technologists and technicians. So there we go. It is the 2021 version of the NOC code. So this is good. We can take a look, and we were going to look back here. So we're looking for hydrocarbon extraction technician. Okay. Technology, engineering technician, chemical laboratory analysis, researcher, may not even be here. So first of all, we have not found this particular position here. It's not in this list, and it's not surprising. Many of these jobs are in a very specific market, let's say in technology, and of course the employer will be the one who creates this position. Again, we're looking for an umbrella term. Perhaps this might be the right umbrella term. Well, let's take a look at main duties. At this point, we're going to take a look at the main duties. Now, Herschel, let's take a look at your duties. Again, what I would normally ask for my clients, or if you're doing this yourself, take a look at these duties. And essentially, if any of these duties as a chemical technologist or a chemical technician here, right, basically align with your position, you might be in the right ballpark, right? You might be in the right situation, right? Again, we can take also look at the employment requirements, chemical technologists, right? And we can take a look at, now, as you can see, this particular website does not have all the information we want. We're going to go ahead and copy this and go back to our NOC, and then we're going to paste it right in here, right? And to make sure it's there, right? And so in essence, we most likely have the right one here. Now, again, with Google, we can take a look at geological mineral technologist, right? There's another one here. And this would be geological mining. No, absolutely not. Now, again, you have to take a look at both the, basically two things you might want to take a look. You might take a look at the actual duties, but you can also take a look at the actual illustrative examples. So the illustrative examples are generally just some of the terms underneath the umbrella of the NOC, and basically the main duties is what you're supposed to do. Big point here, you do not need to have all of these duties. You don't have to perform all of these duties. The idea is that you're performing like 2 or 3 of these duties, maybe even 4, and that should be sufficient, right? Again, it takes a lot of time to search for these, but basically the National Occupation Find Your NOC website along with a Google search may be a useful thing. Now, another thing you can do is actually try to search with ChatGPT. I've tried these too, but with ChatGPT, you cannot always trust the results. It can point you, but it can also be a way to, let's say, coordinate or give you other options. So sometimes ChatGPT can give you more than one NOC code. And then you can look at each of these NOC codes, and then you have to very carefully take a look at the duties to see if they align with your job profession. So essentially, one of the big tasks we want to do is be able to identify our NOC codes. Now, are there any questions at this point? I know there's going to be a Q&A at the end, but if there's any quick questions, I'm happy to answer them now, Christina.
All right, you already went through one of those. How many of the duties should match? So that will be about 2 or 4. We do have a question about PGWP.
Postgraduate work permit.
Yeah. Does the job we found have to be a full-time job? If that falls into tier 0 and 1, will it be automatically eligible?
Sorry, let me ask, can you ask the question? This is about the postgraduate work
This is
permit?
the first question, yeah.
Okay.
So she or he has 2 questions. So we already cover a little bit of how to search the NOC, because we really kind of go through each one of your NOCs. But it is, yes, about post-graduation work permit. If the job they found needs to be a full-time job, and if it falls into tier 0 or 1, will be automatically eligible, I guess, for getting the post-graduation work permit.
Okay, so you do not need to have a job offer to apply for a postgraduate work permit, right? So the idea here is that when you apply for a postgraduate work permit, right, you have to meet the language requirements, right? And most likely you also might have to fulfill field of study requirements in certain cases, not if you're a master's, bachelor's student, right? Obviously. But you do not need to fulfill any employment requirements to apply for a postgraduate work permit. After you get a postgraduate work permit, you can work in any field that you like. right? That's what an open work permit means. With an open work permit, you can work full-time, part-time, you can work, the idea, of course, is you're trying to align your position within the Canadian market in such a way that your job aligns closely with Canada's immigration pathways, right?
Great.
Okay.
There's another good question here. Do I also need employment letters from my previous jobs in my home country that are not related to my selected NOC for PR application?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, your foreign work experience, no matter what you do, remember that people change their lives, people change their careers, they update their careers. I, for example, used to work as a college professor for many years. My initial background is in education, and I worked a variety of different professions before I finally became an immigration consultant. So, people change their jobs. The idea, of course, is that you want to carefully document and prove your past working experience because it can have an incredibly high impact on your PR application.
Amazing. And we could go through one more and then we can keep with the webinar. I recently transitioned from a job tier 2 to tier 3. Was that a bad decision?
No. Or yes, depending on what NOC you have. Okay, so again, so tier 0, 1, 2, 3, these are classifications of jobs. Basically, these are all considered skilled jobs and useful jobs. The idea is the job that you used to do in a tier 2, is it in more demand or less demand? Right? I mean, for example, a plumber is in tier, I believe, 2, and that is an incredibly in-demand job, right? There's just, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more about what NOCs are in demand. But basically, it's about which NOCs are in demand. As long as a tier 0, 1, 2, 3 position, you qualify not only for Canadian Experience class, but most provincial nominee programs as well, right? But it's about the NOC, not the tier. For example, administrative assistants. I believe an administrative assistant is a tier 3 or 2, right? I believe it's a tier 3 or 2. Again, administrative assistants, right? These are jobs which are not difficult to find to be filled by Canadians. Again, that would not be a job that would be closely aligned to immigration. But if you're doing a position, regardless of what NOC it is, that is difficult to find for Canadians to fill those particular labor shortages, that is what we're looking for. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't give you additional points. The tier levels do not provide you additional points for your permanent residency pathway. It's the NOC and the level of experience and education. All right, moving on. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly talk about the new, so speaking of the NOCs can be very important, and so can be tiers. So generally speaking, NOCs are the specific job codes. Tiers are basically levels of work that you have, and tiers can be very important because these are levels of professionalism, and this means also that they have incredible impact on certain immigration programs. Most recently, just last week, we had a huge change in the spousal open work permit eligibility requirements, right? Previous requirements basically, if you are in Canada, or for example, on a postgraduate work permit or on an LMIA supported work permit, right? If you're on a work permit of any kind in Canada and you have a spouse living with you, accompanying with you in Canada, your spouse previously, before January 21st, was able to get a open work permit for the duration of your employment, as long as your employment was in the tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 category. As of January 21st, open work permit sponsorship was relegated only to tier 0 and 1 positions and some tier and 2 and 3 positions. Please note that at the time of applying for the open spouse work permit for your spouse, you must have at least 60 months of work permit after applying for the spouses, right? You still need to have at least 60 months of an open work permit in order for your spouse to qualify for that open work permit. But again, so very important here, tiers are very important, but so are NOCs. Now, if you have a tier 2 position and you're hoping to apply for an open work permit for your spouse, don't panic, because there are select jobs here, and there are quite a lot. There are 3 pages here on the Upshur website, including opticians, industrial designers, construction inspectors, denturists, iron workers, right, electrical mechanics, right, a lot of these positions. So tier 2 positions, there are still quite a few select positions. If you have any of these select positions, which are on the official website of the Canadian government, your spouse will qualify for an open work permit. For tier 3, however, there is a very small list, a very short list, right? But again, again for tier 3 positions, a very short list. So unless you have a tier 0-1 position, or your position under tier 3 falls under one of these categories, your spouse will not be able to qualify for an open work permit. So any questions about that? Any questions there, guys? And again, we have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, there's one question. While applying for a spouse open work permit, should we specify the NOC code, or just specifying main duties are enough?
Yes, you should specify the NOC code, right? And the duties. Both are very important. NOC code, and so you're going to be asked for a tier, the NOC code, right? And again, when you're applying for this, you might need supplementary materials, including a job offer letter from your company, contract from your company, and your duties should be carefully described on your letter of offer of employment. This is a big point for any program, whether we're applying for an OINP or a permanent residence or an open work permit, for example, for your spouse. We're going to need a job offer letter. A job offer letter should include a tier, NOC code, but even more importantly, it should describe a list of your duties. And those duties should align with that specific NOC code as well. Very important. I've had a lot of applications denied, or had interviews or further documentation requests, because that position, even though the NOC code was there, the description of the duties was not there, right? Very important to have the description of duties on the offer of employment. You should also include a contract, right, as well, that clearly describes your duty. Yeah. One more question before we go. One quick question.
I know we have covered this, but we still have questions about it. So how many job duties should match with NOC code for permanent residency application among all listed duties?
It really depends. It could be 2 to 4. Some. The answer is some. Like one duty might not be enough, I guess as many as you possibly can, but don't force it. Don't push it. Don't invent it. Don't lie. Do not misrepresent yourself to the Canadian government, right? 2 to 4 is enough. That's plentiful. If you can find 4, that's a lot. If you can get 2 or 3, you're in a right position there, right? Again, describe all the duties you have apart from those duties listed there, right? Jobs vary. The job market always evolves, and so our jobs or professions always evolve, and we have to adapt to the newest technologies, markets, needs. So just be truthful, be honest, right? Anything else?
Yeah, let's just go with one more question, because we always get this question. What if the employer does not want to provide a letter to support our application related to the NOC code? Will pay stubs be sufficient?
Good. Okay, so employer compliance is going to be essential. Now, basically, you should get a job offer letter. Certainly, you should have a job offer in your email when you got the actual job, right? And the second thing, did you get a contract? I'm sure you got an employment contract. Do you have a copy of that? I mean, if you went and got a job offer and you never got a letter of employment telling you that we're happy to have you as a job, even that email might be enough to show what it is. And then you have the contract that has the duties. That should be present for any job that you have in Canada. If you did not receive that your employer is a little bit sketchy, so I would say, right? It's a pretty sketchy kind of employment. Yes, pay stubs are very important as well for Canadian job market. For pay stubs are not important they are less important for foreign work experience. You should also have your T4 as well to prove your position. But apart from that, again, if you should sense that from your employer early on. If you're like, when you're getting a job, make sure you have your job offer letter, right? Be open. Look, I'm a newcomer to Canada. I'm looking to immigrate to Canada. I want to, fulfill my dream of living here. And again, I want to work for you for many years and do a great job. So I need a job offer letter from you to do that, to basically be able to do that. If your employer is not helping you, right, run, right? Find another position. There are a lot of positions in Canada, right? More importantly, employer support will be necessary for any of the OI and plea job offer positions. So if you're planning to create expression of interest to the province of Ontario, for example, you need not only a job offer letter, you need a letter of support. You need some documentation of support from the employer as well. And not all employers are willing to do that. Even big companies are not even willing to do that. So be careful, think ahead, because if the companies are not willing to support you, right, you may have to look to other positions, right? All right.
And can we just go to one more match? I'm so sorry, but before we actually move to a different topic, it is about post-graduation work permit. That's going to be the last one. They want to know if they can keep working while they're waiting for the PGWP. So they're waiting, like in the process.
So as soon as you submit, so very important, as soon as you submit your postgraduate work permit application, you'll be under implied status, which means you will be able to continue to work, right? Okay, we are moving on here. Let's go ahead. So let's talk about the next topic, which means connecting your NOC code with your career, and again, with fulfilling your permanent residency pathway. So of course, one of the, okay, so if you are in Canada and planning to work in Canada, accrue Canadian work experience, you will most likely apply through the Canadian experience class. The foreign worker stream is for immigrants from outside of Canada. In 2024, we had one invitation only for the foreign worker stream, and that was like 400 people. Not the most reliable pathway. We also have the skilled trades, which are for tier 4 and 5 positions. But in most cases, you can apply for the Canadian experience class if you have Canadian work experience under tier 0, 1, 2, or 3, which most of us have had. Now, very important here is that first of all, these tier codes will also dictate the differences in your language proficiency level. So if you're applying for Canadian experience class with a tier 2 or 3 position, you only have to meet the minimum of CLB 5. And if you're applying with experience in a tier 0, 1 position, you have to make the minimum of CLB 7. You have to have a minimum CLB 7 in IELTS, CELPIP, or PTE. Now, that being said, Band 5 will definitely, in most cases, not cut it in terms of providing a reliable pathway to immigration to Canada, right? Because it's not going to give you a lot of CRS points. If you're getting a CLB of 4 or 5, it really won't matter if you're doing CLB 4 or 5. You're only getting CRS 48 points in your speaking if you're getting Band 5 in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. If you jump from 5 to 6, you're getting additional 3 CRS points for each skill level, speaking, listening, reading, and writing. When you jump from 6 to 7, you get just 2 additional points for speaking, listening, reading, and writing. However, when you jump from 7 to 8, you get a whopping 6 additional points for your speaking, listening, reading, writing. And most importantly, when you jump from 8 to 9, you get 8 additional CRS points for speaking, listening, reading, writing, right? You get 2 additional points or 3 additional points for skill level when you jump from 9 or 10. But usually most individuals will just need to get a Band 9, which is why your foreign work experience is important. Because Once you get a CLB 9 in speaking, listening, reading, and writing, you trigger a point modifier, and basically you get a double the points from your foreign work experience, right? I should also point out that learning French can be very useful. And again, if you're hitting, especially for the French, if you're hitting CLB 7 and above, you may be able to qualify for a lot of the Francophone Mobilité programs as well. So again, NOCs and TEERs can be very also important because, again, for Canadian immigration, right now we just saw the last invitations for express entry in Canada, and there were 540 and 530. The most recent one was above 530. And this is for Canadian experience class under general categories, which means it's not part of the express entry category-based system. So in fact, if your NOC code falls under one of the category-based, one of the categories which are in-demand categories in Canada, you will be invited, you may be invited with much lower scores, like over 430 or 460 in some cases, right? So if you do speak French, right? If you have French ability, this is an excellent pathway for you. And basically, in order to basically qualify to be invited under the French stream, you really need a CLB of, or an NCLC basically of 7. You need a CLB of 7. That is not a particular high score. Again, if you do have some French skills, right? That is amazing because you can get you can be selected under the French category. But also what's really great is you get 25 additional CRS points if you get CLB 4 or lower in English, an additional 50 if you get CLB 5 or higher in English. So if you're getting a CLB 9 in English and then you get a CLB 7 in French, you're getting a very, very high score, right, from your language ability. Very useful. Right? The second category-based system is the healthcare occupations. Again, you can take a look at the category-based invitations, but for healthcare occupations, it's not all healthcare occupations. There is a list, a specific list of jobs that you might qualify for. And the healthcare occupations list is the longest, including dentists, even massage therapists. Nurse practitioners have always been useful, very, very in demand, right? So any of these NOC codes basically would be in high demand, which means the next time we have a healthcare occupation invitation, you might get selected with a score much lower than 500. The other one is the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, math occupations. We haven't seen an invitation for a while, but we will see, again, more invitations in 2025. We have now exhausted the 2024 invitations completely for a long time ago. The 2025, we'll see more STEMs. This is a lot shorter of a list than the healthcare occupation, but this is the second longest list, including civil engineers, anything in computers, right, engineers, web designers, web developers, software engineers. These are all in those positions. The next one will be the trade occupations, and the trade occupations are, for the federal level, a very narrow list. I should mention, though, I've never seen an invitation that did not include plumbers. My goodness, plumbers, carpenters, welders, these are very, very in-demand jobs. We just don't have enough plumbers. We have never had an invitation for the trades that did not include plumbers somewhere there. It's a very great position if you're going for skilled trades. I do encourage them. For transport occupations, again, there are not that many for transport occupations. Truck drivers. If you want to become a transport truck driver, you can get a license within a month or two. There are certain training programs for a month or two for truck drivers. These are also incredibly in demand, right? So again, a lot of these for transport occupations. For the agriculture, there are very few. There are only very few. In fact, there are just 3. But among these three, we have butchers. Butchers are extremely in demand. Anything working with butchers, you can have industrial butchers or even retail and wholesale. So if you're a butcher in Loblaws, you guys are in demand. We need butchers in your supermarket. So absolutely. So basically, if your NOC code falls under these these categories, these 6 categories, you'll be on a fast route for invitation under the Federal Express Entry Canadian Experience class. Very quick questions here, very quick questions.
Okay, we do have a lot of questions about PGWP. I want to remind you that the college actually hosts webinars about PGWP. This is why we do not cover that topic very much. But if you're interested, let us know. We have a survey at the end, so you can let us know that you're interested in PGWP, and we can try to cover those topics as well. Let's see what we have here. Can the job be full-time 1-year contract with possibility of renewal, or must be full-time permanent? Is it for?
What, okay,
I think it's for post-graduation work permit and spousal upper work permit extension.
So for your postgraduate work permit, again, you do not need to have a job offer for a postgraduate work permit. You just need to make the language proficiency requirements. You may need language proficiency requirements, and you may need to have a field of study requirements, unless your study permit application was before November 1st, 2024. There is no specific NOC, TEER, or job requirement in order to have a postgraduate work permit. You can get a postgraduate work permit and remain unemployed for 3 years if you like to. Next question, guys. You do not need any work requirements in order to apply for a postgraduate work permit. Any other questions, Christina? And I can't see you. Sorry.
Right. We do have 100 questions, 101 now. Let's see what else. Something general. Many questions about a spouse open work permit. I don't know if you get this one. What if applying for a spouse open work permit along with a post-graduation work permit together?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So technically, you need the postgraduate work permit in order to apply for an open work permit. You cannot apply for an open work permit for your spouse without having a postgraduate work permit first. You must have an open work permit in order as a minimum qualification. So of course, you have to get one application passed before you can apply for another.
Okay, another one. I need clarification. According to IRCC website, the new eligibility for a spouse open work permit, the new eligibility is 5 a.m. UTC, January 21st, which is midnight here in the GTA. Is the time relevant because I applied on January 20th at 8 p.m.? Does the old eligibility apply to me?
I'm going to say I don't know about the time, like if it's a matter of hours. So I don't know how the AI or the computer-based. So basically, these applications, when they come in, they do record the time. I did not record the time, and I don't know in which time, in which province or which time they are going to accept it. I can't answer that question. I really don't know how IRCC basically will time that. I certainly wish you the best of luck. If you're not sure if your application was accepted or not, I would basically send a web form. So sending a web form is very easy, but basically you can send a web form of clarification. And sometimes when you send a web form of clarification, again, I can help you guys do that if you want to, but I can basically, you can send a web form to IRCC doing an explanation. Anytime you're not sure about any procedures, or you're not sure if the documentation was correct, or you feel like you need to add additional documentation, you can basically create a little web form, send a web form to IRCC with an explanation of your situation. You can get an answer. Sometimes they'll give you clarification. They'll say thank you for confirming this. They might ask you, they may send you another email with with an explanation letter, or maybe for further documentation. But in most cases, sending a web form may answer your question more clearly, and it's free.
Perfect. Another one about the same. I applied for a spouse open work permit before January 21st, but I didn't specify my NOC or TEER. Is that a problem?
For an open work permit?
Yeah, I believe I applied for the spouse open work permit,
Yeah.
but didn't.
So when you apply for an open work permit for your spouse, you would have had to provide your TEER or your NOC, right? You had to show evidence of a job, right, in a TEER 0, 1, 2, 3 position, right? So hopefully, if you did not provide your NOC or your TEER in your application, including, so certainly they asked you for your NOC code. They certainly asked you to select a job under one of these categories. They certainly asked you to provide a job offer letter. And if they did, if that wasn't there, hopefully you're provided a clear description of your duties, because then the visa officer will look at the description of your duties and find a NOC themselves.
Okay, let's go through one more. I don't know. If I get married, will my points go down?
Maybe, or maybe not. They could go down, they could go up. Is your spouse has good education, good language background? Are they a permanent resident in Canada? Depending on who your spouse is, their level of education, their work experience, their level of language, your CRS could go up or down.
I believe if it goes down, don't present that, right? Just present yours.
No, absolutely wrong. If you have a spouse, you will always include your spouse. If you, we gotta be careful there, Christina. If you do not disclose so when you're doing an application, I gotta stress this point very carefully. On your application, you must always disclose your relationship with your spouse or common law partner. Always disclose your children. As an example, I had a client. She was here for many years, and she worked here. She had many experience. She did express entry profile. What she failed to disclose is that she was in a common law relationship with a man in another country, and she had a child with this person, and that child was with him. And she did not disclose this. Well, she eventually, there was a background check, and IRCC found this, the fact that she had a child. And so she did not disclose her child. She did not disclose the common law person. And she said, well, I don't really see my child. I don't see why I have to do it. I'm probably not going to go back to this country. I'm just going to come visit her, right? Misrepresentation, denial of permanent residency status. Always disclose your relationship, right? For better or for worse. That's really the meaning of marriage, isn't it? For better or for worse. So no matter what happens, always disclose your relationships, your dependent children. Always provide information, because if you do not disclose, the very fact of not disclosing this information may lead to very serious misrepresentation, right?
All right, great. Thanks for that. So be careful with misrepresentation. Let's go with one more, and then we can move forward. What's the difference between NOC and TEER?
Okay, TEER is the level of education level job, the level of professionalism and skill required, and NOC is the actual identifier of the right position. Anyway, we have done this, we actually expressed the NOC and TEER codes early in this presentation. If you're coming late, please stay tuned. You're going to get an email with a link to the video of this presentation. Please watch the very beginning of the presentation in order to get more of this information. But I'm going to go ahead and move on so I have time for more Q&A and talk about the OINP, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. Now, the OINP is actually divided into many different kind of programs, and two of the big I guess, there are many streams for the OINP, but I generally like to divide them into two levels. The first one will be the express entry based programs, the express entry based OINPs. And these are, of course, the easiest to apply for because you don't have to apply for these. Basically, in order to qualify for the express entry-based OINP, in order to be invited by the province of Ontario, all you need to do is create an express entry profile. Now, your minimum qualifications is that you have to have, of course, a CRS of 400 and above to qualify for, right? One program, of course, is the human capital stream. And basically, what you do is you create an express entry profile, select province of Ontario, and you will be automatically selected and invited to apply for the OINP if your NOC code, specifically your NOC code, falls under one of the in-demand jobs under the human capital stream. Here's an example of the September 12 invitation. Here are the NOC codes, right? And again, these may be dentists. This was for the healthcare, health jobs, and we need a lot of people in the health category. So here's an example. If your job and your NOC code is in one of the in-demand health occupations for the category-based system on the federal skilled worker, you may also be invited by the Ontario, which may invite you much faster than the federal skill program, simply because Ontario really requires these individuals in this particular possession. So these are the express entry-based OINPs. All you need to do is create an express entry profile, select the province of Ontario, and if your NOC is one of the jobs that Ontario really needs, and by the way, this always fluctuates. This fluctuates, so if certain positions are required, this could be in skilled trades, this could be in any position that we seem to have a hard time hiring people for, you might get selected. The second OINP category will be the non-express entry-based OINPs. And for these, you have to apply directly to the province of Ontario by creating an expression of interest. So what you do is you create an expression of interest to the province of Ontario, and then if you if you get selected, you get then invited to apply. And once again, if you get invited to apply, you get invited to apply directly to permanent residence. Right? So you get invited for permanent residency from the province of Ontario for both kinds of programs. The two most popular ones will be the OINP employer job offer foreign worker stream. And for the OINP employer job offer foreign worker stream, essentially you need 2 years of Canadian Ontario, 2 years of Ontario Tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 work experience. Big caveat though here is you have to make at least median wage or higher. So you have to have at least median or higher wage in your specific profession in Ontario. Again, to find your median wage, you will have to look at Job Bank. Job Bank is really great, by the way. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later. But basically, you have to have at least median higher wage. There are, of course, employer qualifications. Unlike some provinces like the Atlantic provinces that have some select approved employers, anyone can be an approved employer under the OINP as long as they have at least 3 years of operational experience. And if they're in the GTA area, they have to make at least $1 million in total gross annual revenue and have at least 5 full-time employees at the time of your application. Or if your employer's outside of the GTA, they still do need to have at least 3 years of working experience, but must meet a minimum of 500 in total gross annual revenue and have at least 3 full-time employees. Be careful. make sure that your employer has more than 5 full-time employees if they're inside of GTA, and more than 3 full-time employees if they're outside of the GTA, because you don't want their conditions to change. People quit, people get laid off, people get fired, people get sick and hurt. You want to make sure your employer will always qualify throughout your OINP application process. Now, most of us are from Lambton College, which means that you can qualify for the OINP Employer Job Offer International Stream, International Student Stream category. It is almost just like the OINP International Foreign Worker Stream, except that, first of all, you do not need to have long-term experience working in a Tier 0, 1, 2, 3 position. You just need a full-time and permanent job offer. This is amazing because you just need a job offer. You don't even have to be working in that job as long as you have that job offer, right? That's amazing. By the way, if it seems too easy, it's not. The job offer has to be legitimate. Your employer will have to provide you a job offer. They'll have to provide a letter. They'll have to provide you a job offer letter. They'll have to provide you a contract, which you have to sign. And in the event you are selected under this stream to apply on this OINP, right? In case you are selected to apply, your employer will also have to fill out some supporting information for the OINP. They'll have to provide some information, including their tax returns. Not all companies are able to do that. So be careful, right? And the other caveat here, which is really important, is that you don't have to meet median wage. It just has to meet or be higher than the low wage for your specific occupation. So it can't be lower than the low wage category, low wage cutoff, but it doesn't have to be median or above high median wage. That is because Canada understands that new graduates from post-secondary programs often have difficulty gaining experience and getting employment in these particular positions. So employers often hire them for slightly lower wage than the median wage to give them a bit of a test. And after a few months, they may give them a higher wage as time goes by. Maybe after a year, maybe a few months, depending on position. Be careful though, you must apply for this program within 2 years of graduating from your post-secondary studies. So after 2 years, you will no longer qualify and have to apply for the foreign worker stream, which means you do need at least 2 consecutive full-time years working in Ontario, and you will need to meet at least median wage or above. So let's talk quickly about the scoring factors. Again, TEERs and NOCs affect the scoring factors for the OINP International Student Stream. So basically, for example, if you're applying for the OINP International Student Stream and your NOC or your TEER is 0 or 1, you get 10 points. If it's Tier 2 or 3, you get 8 points. If it's Tier or 4, you get 0 because you do not qualify. You only qualify if you have Tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 positions. Then there's the NOC. The NOC also, the actual code of your job also affects your scoring. If your NOC starts with 0, 2, 3, you get 10 points. If it starts with 7, you get 7 points. These are usually skilled trades. And then again, depending on which other kind of numbers you get. Minimum wage, the wage that you're making affects your points as well. If you're making less than $20, you're not getting points. But if you're making making 20, 25, 30 points, you get $30, you get progressively more points, right? Most of you will say 10 because you have a study work permit or a valid work permit, especially if you're on the postgraduate work permit. You do not need to have any work experience, just a job offer. But if you've been working there for 6 months or more, that helps because you get 3 additional points. If you've done your taxes and earned more than $40,000, you get 3 points as well, right? Again, in terms of your education, based on your education, you get points as well. This does not have to mean your Canadian experience. If you, let's say, you did a 2-year diploma, or if you did an undergraduate diploma, 2-year undergraduate diploma, you get from Lambton College, you get 5 points. But if you're in your home country, you got a bachelor's degree, and it's a WES assessed bachelor's degree, you can count yourself for 6, right? Your field of study also gives you points. If you've been lucky enough to pursue a STEM profession, you get 12 points. If it's business administration, social, legal, anything in social studies, you get 6. In humanities, including some business, if you study general business, for example, you're getting 0 points there. Big differences in points here. Again, if you did one program, one Canadian credential, that's 5. If you did more than one, it's 10. Your language score, of course, counts a lot. CLB 9 is the sweet spot. You get the maximum points for CLB 9 or above. And again, if you get French, you get an additional 5 points for that. Regionalization is really, really important. Guys, if you studied in Toronto, you're getting 0 points, unfortunately. Some of you guys, I know you've studied in Toronto. Toronto is a very cool place to be, but if you've studied within Toronto or your job offer is in Toronto, you are not making any points. However, if you've studied, so one also important question here, a lot of people ask me, what if I'm living in Toronto, but my actual job where I'm working is outside of the GTA? Perhaps you're working remotely. You're living in Toronto, but basically you're let's say an engineer, program designer, and your actual office, the office where your job is, where your employer is outside of GTA. And the answer is you're getting 8 points. So the points you're getting in terms of regionalization is the location of the job offer, not where you are living. This also includes where you study. So if you lived in Toronto but went outside of the GTA to study, there you go. Okay. So in any case, we haven't had a general draw just yet for the OINP, right? But again, very important here, we're looking for 70 or 75 or above to be invited for the OINP under the international student stream. If for example, if your OINP international student stream invitation does not fall under a targeted draw, such as a healthcare occupations. However, it was also announced earlier this month that that basically there's the new program, the READY, or the Regional Economic Development Initiative, and basically, if you're currently working in Lanark County, Leeds and Grenville, Sarnia-Lambton, a lot of Lambton College students, I guess a lot of people in Sarnia-Lambton area, or City or Thunder Bay, you may be selected for this pilot. So basically, if you have a high score, right, you may be selected. So basically, all you need to do is create an expression of interest to one of the job offer. You have to create an expression of interest to the province of Ontario under one of the job offer streams, such as the job offer foreign worker stream or the job offer international student stream, and you automatically qualify. So you automatically will be in the pool. If so, and basically, if you are living in one of these areas, you may be selected. I believe there are 800 positions that will be available from January 2 to December 31st, 2025. So far, they invited 4 people. So it works. It's there. We're going to see how effective that's going to be. But yeah, it's pretty, it will be a good idea if you are currently qualifying for a OINP job offer stream to create an expression of interest as soon as possible, so that when that invitation happens, you may be selected as well. More questions?
Okay, we have 130 questions we haven't answered
My
yet.
goodness.
Let's see what can we do. There's lots of questions about IELTS or CELPIP. What will be your recommendation?
So if you have already studied IELTS as part of your requirement for your postgraduate studies, post-secondary studies, I would stick to IELTS, because if you're already comfortable with it, that's good. However, if you had a lot of challenges with IELTS, be aware that IELTS General, if you've done IELTS Academic, you'll still have to do IELTS General. Now, IELTS General writing is a little bit easier. Speaking and listening is exactly the same as an academic. And the reading is a little bit easier, but you have to have a higher level of accuracy. So for example, for IELTS reading, to reach a IELTS 7 or CLB 9, you have to get 30 out of 40 correct in your reading. But in order to get a CLB 9 or IELTS 7 in IELTS General, you need to get 35 out of 40 correct. So you need a higher level of accuracy. However, if you've never done the IELTS, I would strongly suggest that you do the CELPIP. And the reason simply is that it's a Canadian-based test, which is based on a North American vocabulary, pronunciation, and language usage. And so it covers more Canadian topics. So if you're more familiar with North America, that's great. It also has some other features like much shorter reading, right? Basically, most of the IELTS general reading tests, they have over 2,000, 3,000 words. Well, with CELPIP reading, it's more like 1,000 words altogether in all 4 sections. It's like 350 words per each of the 4 sections. A lot easier. There's also 14 different kinds of listening and reading questions for IELTS. There are only 2 kinds of questions for listening and reading, right? Instead of learning how to do the questions, you basically do the question types, you just learn to do the listening and reading. Personally, as an immigration consultant, I recommend the CELPIP. It's a great test. I think it's a lot fairer. I should say that I worked with IELTS as an IELTS instructor and a CELPIP instructor, and I also worked as an examiner for many of these tests. I would say the CELPIP is usually the one that I would recommend. I also get questions about the PTE, the Pearson test of English. It is true, it's a lot easier if you're looking for a CLB 7. But if you're looking for a CLB 9 or above, you'll have to pretty much get everything correct in that test. And that becomes a lot more challenging. So PTE is easy if you're just looking for the minimum requirements. If you're looking for a CLB 9 or above, CELPIP is the one I would recommend the most of all this language proficiency tests.
Great. And if I'm not wrong, you will be hosting a CELPIP webinar tomorrow with Prometric.
Yes, I'm
so
going to
if
be
you're
doing a
interested,
CELPIP webinar.
let me know, send me a message and I will send you the link. It's about writing, I think, and you can join that session tomorrow. Let's move forward. We do have questions about a Francophone pathway. Do we just need a French language exam, result CLB 7? What else? They are also asking about the TEER and NOC for the Francophone Mobility Program.
So it's very important to understand what do you mean by the Francophone. Okay, so there's the Francophone Mobilité program. And basically, if you have a strong French language ability, you don't actually have to prove that French language ability using a test. All you can do is show your education. So for example, if you're from France or you're from Belgium or you're from a French-speaking country and you've completed a degree in that you completed a degree, a bachelor's degree or any education from your home country in French, that should be enough as proof of your language ability. And basically with the Francophone Mobilité program, you can get an open work permit to work in Canada. You can work in Ontario, right? That's a really great part. In terms of the language on the permanent residency path, in terms of the category-based system, on the category-based express entry invitations, you do need a French test in order to prove your language ability. And you eventually will have to prove your French skill with one of the designated French tests for any permanent residency pathway, including provincial nominee programs as well.
Okay, another one about international student stream. Can the work experience while studying be included in the work experience requirements for this stream?
Unfortunately not. All the work which you've any work experience, including co-op or internships which were accrued during the course of your studies, do not count towards your Canadian experience class or your experience towards any permanent residency pathways.
Perfect. Does multiple the multiple web forms affect your application?
Web forms should not affect your applications. They do not have effect on your applications. I mean, if you're sending multiple web forms and you're notifying IRCC that, for example, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to disclose that I have a child back at home on my permanent residency application. Again, by the way, if you didn't include your spouse or your dependent child in your permanent residency application, and you disclose that information before it's actually the application goes through, there might be a chance you might be able to repair that fault. You may have to get an interview and something, but there's a chance you may be able to repair that with using web forms. But again, depending on what you're sending to the web forms and what the actual issue is, it may slow down the process of your application or may not slow down the process at all. It really depends on your particular situation here, right?
Okay. Well, we do have more than 130 questions. And we still we have to cover one more topic. So we can, what do you say, Mach, if we go ahead
Let's
with
go
the
very
last one?
quickly. And yeah, let's go ahead. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is job search strategy. So sometimes I notice that a lot of my clients, they actually do a very backward approach. First, they get a job, and then they take a look at what NOC they are and see, oh, I wonder, will this work for my PR pathway? Well, look, if you're on a fresh, brand new, sparkling postgraduate work permit in Canada, and you can work anywhere you want and do any job you want, right? Why not search for a job based on the NOC? As we look today in our presentation, we saw some of the streams for the OINP or for the Federal Express entry profiles, and we saw some of the in-demand jobs, some of those jobs, those NOCs, which are basically plastered all over government websites. They're saying, these are the NOCs we're searching for. These are the invitations. These are the NOCs that we've provided invitations for in the past. So if you can identify some of these NOCs and you can say to yourself, well, that's a job I could do, why not search for those specific positions, and why not specifically search for them using NOCs? So one great resource is Job Bank. I am not seeing enough newcomers to Canada using Job Bank as their main way of searching for positions. Yes, you can look Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor. There are many jobs out there located in these places. But unlike Glassdoor, Indeed, or ZipRecruiter, which are private companies that help employees connect together, Job Bank is a government website, which means you can search by NOC. What's even more amazing is that you can search by NOC, and you can search by TEER, and you can identify LMIA supported positions using Job Bank. Yes, that's right. You're hearing me correctly, right? You can actually look through a lot of these jobs, and they will tell you if they're open to foreign workers or if they're providing LMIA job offers. And as we know, LMIA job offers are very useful because, well, they'll allow you to work even longer than, be beyond your postgraduate work permit. Now, we know that they also provide additional CRS points, right? So if you have a tier 0, 1, 2, 3 job position supported by LMIA job offer, you get extra 50 points. If it's a double O, by the way, double O positions, these are CEOs, CFOs, you get additional 200 points. By the way, by spring of this year, these points are going to go away. The government is going to temporarily suspend these points. So even though temporarily the government is going to suspend these 50 or 200 points, for most of us it's going to be 50 points, even though they're going to suspend these points in spring 2025, I believe in about a year and a half at the most, these points are going to come back. The main reason that these points are being taken away is because there has been a lot of corruption in Canada regarding the sale, unlawful, the illegal sale of job offers and LMIA supported job offers. And some of these newcomers have been paying $25,000 to $80,000 to get these LMIA job offers. In many cases, some of these situations end up in tragedies, And in some cases, Canada let in a lot of individuals who are never planning to work in any of these positions and just have been using this paperwork that they bought as a pathway to permanent residency. So these are going to be going away. But if for example, you're towards the end of your open work permit and you still didn't get invited for permanent residency, but you still want to continue your journey in Canada and hopefully gain a permanent residency at some point, getting an LMIA job offer may not immediately give you results or help you this year, but about 1 year time, these points will come back. They should probably come back as well. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and do a little bit of Q&A here. Last point here, let's do a bit of Q&A. Again, if one thing I have to say here, please focus your questions on the NOC codes, but and any other questions that you want. In this presentation, we cannot identify your specific NOC codes, and there are very complex situations at work for a lot of you guys. So if you have a very specific situation, a very specific immigration position, please take advantage of an immigration consultation with me. As Christina will let you know, I have a special price for Lambton College students. It's only $100. That's $50 less than standard for Lambton College students. So I have a special discount. So if you are a Lambton College student, you get a special discount for a immigration consultation with me. So let's get to the serious business here. Last point here. Let's do some Q&A here. Let's get some questions out here.
Okay, let's see. We have one here. Does OIMP student stream can be applied to with a full-time job offer, but 1 year contract with extension possibility?
No, it has to be a permanent job offer. So it's not a contract. There cannot be any end date.
Right, I think we covered this, but let's refresh it. Mache, does the Francophone path have TEER NOC job requirements? So again, there are many.
Okay, so yeah, there are many Francophone programs specifically for the French language part. Remember that this is for express entry. So in order to qualify for the Francophone stream under the category-based system express entry, you have to qualify for one of the express entry pathways. So again, for most of us, we're going to be doing CEC, the Canadian Experience class. You have to have at least 1 year of work experience in a Tier 0, 1, 2, 3 profession. Doesn't matter which NOC code, just Tier 0, 1, 2, 3 profession. Now, if you have at least 1 year of Tier 0, 1, 2, 3 profession, you have good English and good French scores, and you have a CRS score that's above 480, there's a very good chance you might get selected.
Okay, another one for international student stream. My company is not willing to provide me supporting documents. What could be done?
Okay, that is unfortunately something that happens a lot. So number one is, first of all, who are you speaking to? In most cases, if it's a big company, you may talk to the HR manager. Now, HR managers, basically, I wouldn't say they're lazy, but they have their duties in their contract, like everybody else. And helping newcomers is not one of their duties, right? They just don't feel it's one of their duties. They answer this, they take care of these problems, they hire, they fire, they make sure of this, and assisting newcomers with their OIMP applications isn't part of their jobs, right? They don't want to do it. Especially if they're big companies, there's a lot of foreign workers there. They're just going to reject you because they don't want to do it. So one thing you can do is you can ask again. If they still don't want to do it, you may want to ask someone who is responsible, like your boss directly, right? Your boss might be the one to do it. Again, the other thing you can do is print out a copy of the OINP employer form. It's right on the Ontario website, and give it to the employer so that you look at it, because sometimes they're a little bit scared, right? But if you print out that form and just show them, go through it, it's not that hard. It's not that I really need it, you know, that they might be able to do it for you. And again, if your employees are not willing to do that, you can quit. In certain cases, I've been successful with this. I've had a client who was working for a company, they couldn't do it. I actually tried to call the company myself. And I said, I'm the immigration consultant representing this person. And I tried to explain the situation. I sent the file to them. I came up to them. I kept pushing them a little bit. I got them to do it. But ultimately, if the employer doesn't want to do it, there's nothing that you can do to force the employer to do anything in that situation. The best you can do is identify the willingness of your employer to support you on your immigration journey as quickly as possible. And if they are not capable of supporting you, they really shouldn't be hiring newcomers to Canada anyway. And anyway, if they're hiring you, it's because they need someone like you in your organization. And again, if you're not able to do that, you're just going to quit. Perhaps leave a review on Glassdoor. Hey, if you're a newcomer to Canada, don't work here. They're not going to support you. Give enough reviews like that, that company's going to change their mind. But that's more of a community-based approach. Again, try your best talking to the HR manager. Show the web form. Show how easy it is to fill out the document. Try to persuade them. Tell them it's not going to be that hard. Try to talk to your boss directly. Maybe they can help you. And try to do that as soon as possible. And eventually, if that all fails, quit and find a job or employer that will be able to support you on your immigration journey, because it's not that hard.
Thank you, Mache. Do we need to do WES for OIMP International Student Stream?
You have to do WES whenever you include your foreign education in any application related to immigration in Canada, whether it's the OINP or the permanent residency. Or even when you create express entry profile, you'll need the WES number, right? You'll need the you'll need the EAC number. You will need that number.
What can someone do to improve her position, CRS, when one's age is above 40 years?
Sorry, one more time. How can one prove their position?
So this person wants to know how to improve his or her CRS when he or she is over 40 years old.
Work experience, language ability. I guess language ability is the easiest thing. You cannot improve your foreign work experience. If you don't have it, you have it, right? Your education, again, if you're already finished studies in Canada, you're in a postgraduate permit, not much you can do. You can, of course, get more years of work, but if you're the surest and most reliable way to improve your CRS is improve your language proficiency. So get a higher score, get band 10 in CELPIP.
And try French.
But again, and try French. Again, the reason that you're not getting any points on the 45 after 45 years old is because, well, there are lower chances of you buying into the system. The whole point for Canadians of letting newcomers to come to Canada is they're going to be working here and paying taxes, right? We're not here to have newcomers come to Canada, work for 5 years, and then basically retire and get benefits for the rest of their lives. From taxpayers who have worked all of their lives, right, and paid into the system. So yes, this is what the reason. So having improved language scores may be the only way. Again, we may look at provincial nominee programs as well. We may look at Alberta, Manitoba. It depends on your work experience, what kind of jobs you have. But yeah.
Yeah, language is definitely very important. And if you want to study French, we have some partners with a special fees for every graduate. So send me a message, let me know, and we can contact with them. For international student stream, is it better to find a job stay inside Toronto or outside Toronto?
Absolutely outside. Outside of Toronto, outside of the GTA, get out of GTA. Remember, inside of the GTA, you get 3 points for the OINP, 0 if you're working in Toronto, 8 points outside of the GTA, and 10 in North Ontario. So yeah, absolutely. Get out of the GTA. It's crowded. It's expensive. Outside of the GTA, there are lots of great jobs, lots of great positions. Improves your points. There are programs like the Ready, which will improve your selection outside of Toronto. You might get invited there, but yes, absolutely.
Hamilton is part of the GTA? No, right?
Nope. No, Hamilton is great.
So
Hamilton,
go there.
or I'm actually from Hamilton. I grew up in Hamilton, or the Hammer, as we used to call it. Hamilton's great. It's moving through a lot of improvements. There's a lot of gentrification, a lot of improvement in Hamilton, very much expanding. Lots of jobs in Hamilton. Hamilton, Barrie, Windsor, right? Niagara Falls, right? A lot of places around, right? Hamilton's great. Hamilton is only about 55 minutes away by bus, by Go Bus from Toronto. So again, you can continue to live in Toronto, commute for an hour to Hamilton, see how it works, right?
That's a great idea. Okay, another one. We covered this, but let's go. I completed my education in Sarnia. You get points there. Now I'm working in Toronto. Does it add points?
Yeah, 0 points, right? If you're living in Toronto, 0 points for. Now, if you're living in Toronto, but your job is in Sarnia, you're getting, different points. It's about the job location, right? It's about the job location.
Right, let's try to find one more because we extended this webinar half an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're long here.
I am working full-time on a contract basis. Will my experience be counted or not?
One more time,
Working
sorry.
full-time. So someone's
Sorry.
working full-time on a contract and wants to know, the experience will be counted, right?
Okay, yeah, of course your experience will be counted if you're working full-time for CEC, for Canadian Experience class. For the OINP job offer stream, you need to have a full-time permanent job offer.
Okay, great. So we extended our webinar half an hour. We had over 150 questions that we couldn't go through. We answered around 30. I'm sorry, we cannot really go, as I mentioned, there are 40,000 TEERs and NOCs. Now you know how to search the information. If you are still struggling, you can search someone like Mate. He will be able and happy to help you. In this case, Mate will, his fees are $100 for our Lambton College graduates. Remember, if you want to improve your English and French, we do have some partners as well that can help you. So let us know and we will try our best to give you all the information. I think this is going to be it for today. Thanks again to our graduates for joining and to always be here with all your questions. Again, we are sorry, we really cannot go through all of them, but we hope this webinar was useful. We learned a lot, we covered a lot. Mache, thank you very much as always, it's been great. And I hope to see you, everybody. I just want to say something else. Next month, we're going to host an amazing webinar on personal branding. You should have gotten already an invitation with a very well-known international coach. So I recommend you to join that webinar as well. And just keep following us and you will be able to join all our webinars. Thanks again, everybody. And I will see you shortly. Take care. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for attending and looking forward to future sessions with you guys again. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.